On August 20th, we went to Magic Kingdom's Mickey's Not So Scary Party. The following week, we went to Disney's California Adventure and went to the Oogie Boogie Bash. In today's Missing Adventure, we're going to be comparing and contrasting the things that we liked about each and how they were different. Mickey's Not So Scary Party is in Orlando, Florida. The Oogie Boogie Bash is in Anaheim, California. Beyond that, they're even more different because Mickey's Not So Scary takes place in the Magic Kingdom, which is the more traditional, iconic park, so to speak, whereas Oogie Boogie Bash takes place in Disney's California Adventure. One of the first things just right out the bat is the entrance, because when you enter Oogie Boogie Bash, it's this huge like Oogie Boogie with the moon, and it's really wow. Magic Kingdom does not have the same kind of entrance, so it's a different kind of wow. There isn't anything big. The second thing I noticed was the costumes. So in terms of guests, I'd heard that really nobody dresses up at Mickey's Not So Scary Party, but a lot of people dress up at Oogie Boogie Bash. And while I think that's true, there was a lot more people dressed up at Mickey's Not So Scary than I was expecting. Although it was hot when we were there, and there was quite a bit of Disney bounding. Not as much like full-on costumes, whereas when you go to Oogie Boogie Bash, there's some really elaborate costumes. And I kind of wonder if part of that might be that I think Disneyland in general is more of a locals park with a lot of magic key holders, whereas I think a lot of Walt Disney World is a lot of people traveling in from far, and it's sometimes hard to pack costumes in addition to everything else that you're bringing in your luggage. Another big difference is the characters. So in terms of the two different parties, Mickey's Not So Scary Party seemed a lot more traditional. It was like friendlier. There were some rare characters because there was like Prince Eric was there with Ariel. It wasn't just Ariel. There was Captain Jack Sparrow. There was Sally and Jack. There's Moana. There was Genie and Abu, which you never see Abu. Jasmine was there with Aladdin. Curly was there when you walked through. She was one of the few like villains that I remember seeing. But Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Piglet, and Eeyore were all there in their Halloween costumes. That was super cute, but it was a really long line. Also, the Fab Five were in their Halloween costumes, but we didn't ever actually get to go see them because that was also crowded. We really didn't have to wait long for like Abu, which I was expecting a really long line. We didn't have to wait that long for Prince Eric and Ariel, which I thought was going to be a long line. There was also like Tweedledee and Tweedledum that we were super excited to go see, but we just simply ran out of time. Oh, we also didn't go actually see Stitch Elvis because that again, we ran out of time. We felt like there were so many characters, and all of them are character meet and greets. So you're waiting in line to see them. You can kind of see them from a distance, but if you really want to see them, you're waiting in line. But there were tons and tons of characters. It was fun, and they're spread out throughout the entire park. Contrast that to Oogie Boogie Bash. If you're looking for villains, it's more of like a traditional creepy, spooky.
It might be a little bit more. It's Oogie's Party.
Yeah, it's Oogie's Party. It's not Mickey's. But that one has the Kingdom Hearts is where you're going to go to see Mickey, Goofy, and Donald, and then Daisy, Clarabelle, and Minnie are the Sanderson sisters. Both of those are character meet and greets. Some of the other meet and greets are as you first walk in, and they yeah, and it varies. That Houston and I were there. It was Pain and Panic and Hans were rotating, and then on the flip side of the hub, because they had like two different spots going on, they had Captain Hook was swapping out with the Sheriff of Nottingham. When two of my other kids went, they actually saw Prince John, and he was swapping out with the Sheriff of Nottingham. Yeah, Lotso's also a character meet and greet. Bruno's a character meet and greet. Sometimes they'll have different character meet and greets back on Pixar Pier. Character meet and greets, however, are not the only way you're going to get to see characters at both of the parties. They also have characters, I don't even know what to call them, but character interactions throughout both of the parties. At Magic Kingdom, they had the pirates, front of Pirates of the Caribbean, that were walking up and down in front of there, and they were telling jokes, and they were so much fun to interact with. They also had ghosts that were at the Haunted Mansion. We did not get to see them. Unfortunately, the line was too long by the time we got over there. But I've heard that they're up by the gravestones, and they'll also kind of interact with you. The last place is the Hitchhiking Ghost by the Country Bear Jamboree. I actually really like that they did those that way, because it meant that more people got to see them, got to interact with them instead of waiting in a really long line. At Oogie Boogie Bash, they actually do their treat trails that way. So as long as we're talking treat trails, I'll finish with Mickey's Not So Scary in the treat trails. They just have windy, windy lines. And at the end of the line, there are cast members that just give you a big scoop out of the barrel of candy and put that in your bucket. Oogie Boogie Bash. Huge difference in how they do the treat trails and the character interactions. They only have, I want to say, maybe two that are just straight candy. There's different spots in that line where they'll put candy in your bag as you walk through. And by the end, you've got a ton, as opposed to Mickey's Not So Scary, where you just get one big dump at the end of the line. But they're treat trails, with the exception of the two that I can think of, which one's on Pixar Pier, the other one is in Cars Land. Every other treat trail is also a character interaction. Whereas at Mickey's Not So Scary, if you went to some of those treat trails to get the candy, you kind of were like, if I waste my time getting candy, am I going to miss out on something awesome somewhere else? And at Oogie Boogie Bash, you get to do both. So even though you're seeing characters and doing that, you are not missing out on any of the candy. You get to do it all at the same time. One thing that Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party did not have, that I was very disappointed in, was that they did not have a free photo pass. With Oogie Boogie Bash, photo pass is just included. So as you go to the character meet and greets, all you have to do is scan your wristband that they gave you to get in, and you get those pictures for free. So I was very surprised on Mickey's Not So Scary Party. You didn't get that. You had to pay extra. You had to add it on. I'm going to guess as part of the park package, because we didn't do that. But it wasn't a deal breaker. It just would have been really nice if it had come with a photo pass. Entertainment is a huge area where Oogie Boogie Bash differs from Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom was far superior in this department, so I'll start with Oogie Boogie Bash. Oogie Boogie Bash has a Villains Grove, which is really, really cool. It's lights and sounds and smells. Like there's roses with Alice in Wonderland or the Queen of Hearts, and you can smell the roses. There was some really cool stuff that they did with that. You can go through at your own pace. If you want to go faster, you can go faster. If you want to go slower, you can go slower. You can stop, you can enjoy it. And I really appreciate that. The other thing that they have, which you can call it a show or you cannot call it a show, I'm going to call it a show. On Carthay Circle, they actually do a projection show. I want to say it's every 15 minutes, but it's cool and it changes. I'm sure they cycle through them, but it changes and it looks amazing. So I don't know that I'd sit there and watch it all night to watch it, but if you're there, definitely watch it. It's really cool. And then lastly, they do, but we'll get to the parade in a second. Magic Kingdom, they have a Pirates band that was super cool. He was out in front. They were out in front of Pirates of the Caribbean. Endeavor Dance. They also have the fireworks show that was phenomenal. And my absolute favorite thing that they had was a show with the Sanderson sisters. And not only did they have the Sanderson sisters in it, they also had a whole slew of villains. And this was the most villains that we saw in the park all night. They had Dr. Facilier, Oogie Boogie, Maleficent, Cruella de Vil, Hades. It was so well done. It was live singing, live acting. It was, if I'd known when it was, I think I would have stayed there just all night long and watched every single show. That's how great I thought it was. My favorite thing about that also was we watched the very last show of the night, which was midnight, and the park was closed. So the park closes at midnight, and then they do the show. So we didn't feel like we were using up any party time at all. They also have the fireworks show and two different dance parties. So they had like one that was Descendants, and they also had one that was like a Disney Playhouse Junior. Parades. Oogie Boogie Bash is more villain centered. Mickey's Not So Scary is more traditional, really lighthearted, not villains. I thought that Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party was a longer parade. The other thing I really liked about it that was fun was we watched it from Main Street. And if you're on Main Street, that's where the Headless Horseman goes. And they also have a pre-show where Max comes out as Powerline and they do this whole dance and they kind of teach the audience how to do the dance. And that was super fun. And by the time that's done, the parade is there. There were villains in it. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And I think Their grave diggers are better. Like this, some of the choreography was just so fun. Oogie Boogie Bash. Oogie Boogie Bash is entirely villains. They have a huge Haunted Mansion float, Dr. Facilier float. In terms of floats, I feel like Oogie Boogie Bash was better, and it was fun that it's all villains. Their choreography was also fun. I think it's really, really cool that both parades are different. There's things that are similar. They both have like a Haunted Mansion sequence, and they both have the dancers, like the ballroom dancers from Haunted Mansion. But they were two totally and entirely different parades. Amazing! I think everybody should get to see that and experience that at least once in their life. If you love entertainment and shows and the spectacle of all of that, definitely Mickey's Not So Scary Party won hands down over anything that Oogie Boogie Bash had. This was something that I was not expecting. Having gone to Oogie Boogie Bash for a couple years now, the lines are never very long, with the exception of Radiator Springs Racers and sometimes Monsters After Dark because it's Halloween themed. They also have some Halloween themed that are in Cars Land. Mater's and Luigi are also Halloween themed for the season. But really, nothing gets all that busy. Like the night we went, Radiator Springs was 30 minutes. By the end of the night, I don't know what Radiator Springs was, but Monsters After Dark started kind of crowded, but by the end of the night, it was 10 minutes long. And most everything was just walk right on. People really weren't going on the rides. None of the rides at Oogie Boogie Bash are party exclusive. They don't use it to see rides. They use Oogie Boogie Bash as a way to see rare characters that you can't see anywhere besides Oogie Boogie Bash Party. So I was really surprised when we went to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party that their rides had lines. And like Peter Pan was like a 40-minute line. That flabbergasted me because that's something that you can do all the time. So I was not expecting there to be lines. We went on Space Mountain, which was really cool. It's party exclusive, and they do it completely in the dark. If you don't do it during Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, you're not going on it. And same with, they do the teacups. They also do that Halloween themed. We did not go on it, but that's also something that you have to do during the party or you can't go on it. I sort of think that people go and use it to go on rides and not have to pay the multi-pass ticket and be able to take advantage of short wait times. Sure, why not? Which I don't feel like they do as much at Oogie Boogie Bash or Disney's California Adventure. They really come for the characters. As far as decorations goes, Mickey's Not So Scary was a lot heavier on like the pumpkins and scarecrows and kind of that was it. And I felt like it was mostly contained to Main Street. Past Main Street, there was not a whole lot. There was one small section of lights that reminded me a little bit of Villains Grove out by Haunted Mansion. But other than that, it felt like a normal park day, except for like some of the dance parties and stuff that you could see. And obviously the character meet and greets were out. But other than that, that was kind of the only decorations that we really, really liked. All of the music, like they had really fun music playing throughout the park. And it seemed like a lot of the music was different. We didn't feel like it was just one big continual loop. Oogie Boogie Bash, however, like from the moment you walk in, it is again supposed to be like a little bit spookier. It's not scary per se, but it is a little bit spookier vibe. So like all of Buena Vista Street is covered in gorgeous purple lights. They have it decorated with Carthay circles decorated. And then when you get into Cars Land, the entire Cars Land is decorated for Halloween. And it's phenomenal. Like you feel like you've stepped into this big, huge Halloween story. It's not pumpkin heavy. In fact, I don't even know if there is a single pumpkin because again, this is Oogie Boogie's party, not Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. I loved the music and you can hear Halloween music playing throughout the park. However, it seems like the loop comes around more often. I liked it, but like he was like, well, I felt like it looped a lot more. It And it probably did, and all the music was the same throughout the park, as opposed to changing themes based on your land, like Pirates Land and Magic Kingdom had a pirate band. They didn't do that here. It was just kind of the same music. Obviously, this next section is going to change if you're not going in 2024, because I filmed this video in September of 2024, but the merch. So as far as the merch goes, there was a lot less merch for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party than there was for Oogie Boogie Bash. I liked them both, but I think I liked Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party more. They had just more characters on their merch, on their shirts. I enjoyed that more. Whereas this year, everything for Oogie Boogie Bash was just Oogie Boogie. That's not always the case. In fact, the shirt that I'm wearing today is from last year's Oogie Boogie Bash, and as you can see, it had lots of villains. But this year, whoever designed the merch decided it was all Oogie Boogie. So there was more merch here at Oogie Boogie Bash, but we liked Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party better. One of the other things that is very similar about both parties is that you get early entry into the park. So if you don't have a park ticket for that day, it's no big deal, because I believe Oogie Boogie Bash you can get in at 3 o'clock. Do you remember what time you could get in for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party? I think it was 4. They're both 3 hours early. And then what happens is once the event starts, if you don't have your wristband on, you get escorted out of the park, and then it just becomes all the people with the event tickets. And both events are 5 hours. Everybody starts like exactly at 6 is when they'll start doing the character meet and greets and all of that stuff. Mickey is Not So Scary. We rode Space Mountain in the dark a little bit before the event technically started. DCA closes right at the time the party starts, and that's when they escort the guests out. Whereas Magic Kingdom, there's an hour gap between when the party officially starts and when the Magic Kingdom day ends. One of the things that I like about Oogie Boogie Bash is that if you're staying at a Disneyland hotel, they're all right here where Disney's California Adventure is. So you don't have to rely on a bus or a tram or a Skyliner or anything to get you here. So if you want to go back to your hotel room and change into your costume and come back, it's all up to how fast you can walk back. Even if you want to park hop over from Disneyland over into the Oogie Boogie Bash event, you are literally walking like, I don't know, under 2 minutes, because they are right across from each other. Whereas when you're going to Mickey's Not So Scary Party, unless you've been at Magic Kingdom all day, or unless you've had like a rest day and been at the hotel, if you want to go back and change or refresh or change into that costume, you've got a lot for that time. Or if you're at another park and want to park hop over, because it is going to take time. You're going to have to wait for a bus or the Skyrail or the monorail. And it was fast, but it does take time.
Skyrail?
Skyliner. Did I say Skyrail? I meant to say Skyliner. And you just got to factor that in. It's going to take a little bit more time to get there. It's not a bad thing, but it's going to take a little bit more planning on your part. The other thing that both parks do is that if you are already in that park for the day, they make it really easy by putting a station inside the park to be able to go get your wristband, so you don't have to come out of the park and re-enter. One of the biggest differences that we noticed was the food. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party had so much good food. We thought we did okay. Like, we tried quite a bit of it, but we got home and we're looking at our list of things we wanted to try, and we're like, oh, we didn't even like put a dent in it. There was so much stuff we wanted to try, and everything that we tried was delicious. There was nothing that we tried that we didn't like. And best part of it is we did it during the party, which usually I'd say don't eat during the party. Why waste party time? But we didn't even feel like we wasted our time because it was good. So we were like, oh, heck yeah, we totally do that again and get the food. Oogie Boogie Bash has been really, really disappointing in terms of food this year. If you love the food, you love the party exclusives, there just really isn't anything. I'm trying to think now, we didn't try any of it. I think they might have like chicken fingers, like some kind of a Halloween chicken fingers, but let's be honest, I'm not going to waste Halloween party time to go get like chicken fingers. No. So if like food and party exclusive food is something important to you, Mickey's Not So Scary hands down wins for that. Both parties are phenomenal to take kids to, little kids. There's nothing that's going to be too scary or too overwhelming or not going to be good for kids. I feel like the name kind of says it all. One is Mickey's, one is Oogie's, which is where you get one's more villains, one's more not. But in terms of like exclusively for little kids, that was definitely Mickey's Not So Scary. Even in terms of having like the fireworks show, because that's something the littles are gonna like. Adults are gonna like it too, but something that I feel like little kids are also gonna super be into, and it's not just all about the characters. They also have a lot more little kids rides there if you are interested in doing the rides, just because it's at Magic Kingdom. So they have Fantasyland and all the rides that go along with that, which I don't feel like Disney's California Adventure has as many things for little kids.
The characters over there are more littles. It's Ariel.
Yeah, it's like Ariel.
It's Belle.
Yeah, it's Ariel, it's Belle, it's Moana, it's Jasmine. So it's going to be probably characters that they're maybe more familiar with. Whereas like Dr. Doofenshmirtz is probably geared towards a little bit older kids, along with like Hades. And
I'm not being hit with the youngsters.
and they're amazing, but it's just a little bit different demographic. Also, they in years past they've done a dance party at Playhouse Disney Junior. They didn't do it this year. That's where they put Dr. Doofenshmirtz, which personally I was totally cool with. This was the first year I feel like we've actually gotten to do everything at Oogie Boogie Bash. In years past, we felt like we left a lot on the table, and I realized that it can depend on the night and stuff. Mickey's Not So Scary. I feel like we could have gone back and done more. Oogie Boogie doesn't have the dance parties. Like Mickey's Not So Scary had two different dance parties. One of them was like specifically Playhouse Junior. We did not go in, but as I was walking by, it was Powerline Max was in there dancing, and V Vampirina was in there. Some of the ones that like little kids would totally relate to, even in terms of having like the Winnie the Pooh characters dressed up in their Halloween costumes. Yeah, Mickey's Not So Scary is way like cuter. Just if you're looking for like the cutesy factor, Oogie Boogie is. I don't know how to describe Oogie Boogie. It's not the cutesy factor, but it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's just not like the cutesy. It's a very Disney edge, but it's more like it's darker. It's got the purple lights and the green lights, and it's got the scarier kind of spooky music as you walk in. I think the thing that I appreciated most about going was that both parties are entirely different characters, different food, different shows, different songs playing throughout the park, different parades, because we went to Mickey's Not So Scary's Halloween party, and like immediately the week after went to Oogie Boogie, but I didn't feel like, oh, we've already seen this, there's no point in going. In fact, it was kind of the opposite. After going to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, we were so excited to go back and get to go to Oogie Boogie's, and it did not disappoint. It was a totally different experience. Overall, we loved both parties. You can't go wrong. If you're on the East Coast, absolutely go to Mickey's Not So Scary party, plan a night and go. Oogie Boogie Bash sells out even faster than Mickey's Not So Scary party. So Mickey's Not So Scary party, you can maybe sit on it a little bit as you think it out, because we got our tickets like 2 weeks before we actually went. You can't do that with Oogie Boogie Bash. You have to be watching the website, and when they announce the date that it's dropping, you have to be ready to buy. Although this year they lasted longer than they did last year, but that doesn't mean that they will next year. Especially because they don't tend to announce what characters are going to be there. And I feel like if they'd announced that ahead of time, it would have sold out way faster, because they had some really cool characters I don't think anybody was expecting. But overall, whichever party you pick, it's going to be fun. The recommendation is that if you like the villains, you don't care as much about the show, absolutely go to Oogie Boogie. Hands down, better for villains. If you like some of the more traditional characters, some of the princes, really like the shows, Mickey's Not So Scary party is for you. But either one of them, you are going to have an absolute blast. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever been. Let me know if you've been to both. Which one did you like better? Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you real soon.